Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are strapping in for something. Well, something pretty unique. We've pulled together a stack of sources looking ahead to 2026.
And the consensus is just striking.
Right, this isn't some gentle evolution. The material calls it the main event, a profound generational shift in global energy.
Exactly. Our whole mission here is to give you a shortcut to understanding why all these sources are calling 2026 the year the puzzle pieces finally click.
I really found that idea compelling, that the past few years felt like a dress rehearsal.
And now the curtain is going up.
Yes, it suggests all this friction we've been feeling, technologically, socially. It's all about to solidify into something new.
It is. And it's because this isn't just a busy year. It's defined by the convergence of the three slowest moving planets. We're talking Pluto, Saturn, and Neptune.
All making these monumental structural moves at basically the same time.
Which is something we genuinely haven't experienced in recent memory. When these planets shift, we don't just see news cycles change. We see tectonic plates shift in culture and technology.
Okay, so to get a handle on this, we're going to focus on three massive pillars. First, Pluto's permanent move into a new sign.
Second, that massive Saturn-Neptune conjunction, the total cosmic reset.
And third, Jupiter's shift into what the sources call deep emotional abundance. Let's unpack this thing.
Yeah.
Let's start where the future really begins. Technology and our global systems.
Right.
We're talking about Pluto, the great transformer, settling firmly into Aquarius. This kicks off in January 2026.
And the sources are really clear on this. Any flirtation with old systems, that's over. This is the new reality.
So Pluto moving into Aquarius is the biggest long-term headline here.
It is. When Pluto, which is all about power, deep transformation, and unavoidable truth, when that enters Aquarius, the sign of the collective of innovation.
And digital networks.
Yes. The theme just becomes systemic reform, top to bottom.
The basic takeaway is always technological breakthroughs, but what specifically does our material say about the kind of breakthroughs we should expect?
Well, it's not just about new gadgets. It's about the power dynamics in the technology itself. We're talking about the core architecture of the internet, of global governance.
Okay, so what does that look like?
Think decentralization being forced into the mainstream. Not as some fringe idea, but as a mandatory societal structure.
So a genuine fracturing of centralized authority.
Exactly. Power gets distributed across peer-to-peer networks, whether they're social, financial, or political.
That sounds like a double-edged sword. On one hand, power shifting to the people via these networks.
But on the other, massive potential upheaval in how those networks are governed or, regulated.
The tension is high.
Extremely.
Yeah.
You've got this massive technological capability, AI systems, sophisticated digital economies, but Pluto is demanding that the old gatekeepers of control have to yield.
So for you, the listener who wants to get knowledge quickly and thoroughly,
Pluto in Aquarius means access and transparency become non-negotiable demands from society. The whole fight over who controls the information pipeline. That basically defines the next 20 years.
Wow. So Pluto sets the stage for a completely new political and technological reality. But as dramatic as that is, the sources call the next event the real game changer.
Oh, absolutely.
This is the total cosmic reset happening in the spring, the Saturn and Neptune conjunction.
This transit is the moment of crystallization. It is the true heart of 2026. The source material uses words like, "This is huge, a total reset of reality."
And it's not just that they meet, it's where they meet.
Which is 0 degrees Aries, the absolute starting point of the entire zodiac. It's an initiation for the next 3 decades.
A 30-year structural cycle beginning at 0, that really raises the stakes. So for those who know these energies, what happens when Saturn's structure, accountability, boundaries meets Neptune, which is dreams, illusion, spiritual yearning, at the very beginning of the cycle?
It forces dreams to become blueprints. That's the simplest way to put it.
I see.
Saturn is the tangible, the limits, material reality. Neptune is the intangible, the boundless belief. When they unite, they sort of dissolve the distinction between the two.
And what does that look like historically?
Well, these cycles often coincide with either the grounding of massive idealistic movements, giving them real institutional form, or the complete dissolution of long-held societal illusions.
It sounds like a necessary shock to the system, but one that ultimately brings some relief.
It does. I love the analogy the sources use. The fog is clearing and you finally see the mountaintop. The vision was always there, but the structure was missing.
And now it's here.
It demands that collective fantasy finally confronts collective reality. For years, people have held these visions, for their finances, their careers, social reform, that maybe lacked a practical structure.
This conjunction ends the waiting period.
It sets a new, rigid foundation from Saturn for the execution of your wildest, most inspired goals from Neptune. You can't just keep dreaming vaguely. You have to start building concretely.
So we move from Pluto defining this huge global structure to Saturn-Neptune demanding structural integrity on a much more personal level.
And that's why this is so vital for your goals. If you've been hesitant to launch a big project or start a business or commit to a long-term plan because the timing felt nebulous,
Right.
2026 provides the necessary, almost inescapable clarity, the solid ground to stop planning and start doing. It forces the question, is your dream built to last, or is it just smoke?
Okay, that is a heavy dose of structure and reality. So let's shift to something a bit more positive.
A welcome influence, yes.
Jupiter, the planet of luck, expansion, and benevolence, coming in to provide some emotional support right when we'd need it most.
We're transitioning to Jupiter, moving out of Gemini and into Cancer on May 25th, 2026. This is where the emotional and domestic abundance really enters the picture.
And our sources were very clear that this is a particularly positive placement. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. Can we go beyond the basic definition of happy? What does that exaltation actually do?
It grounds the expansion. Jupiter expands whatever sign it's in. Cancer is a cardinal water sign, so it governs security, nurturing, home, and protection. So when Jupiter is exalted here, its natural expansive nature gets amplified, but it's given this highly protective and supportive focus. It stops the scattershot expansion we saw in Gemini.
Which is a lot of information overload, mental exhaustion.
Totally. And instead it focuses that energy inward on creating wealth that protects and nurtures.
So the collective energy shifts dramatically from that busy, intellectual, often scattered mental energy of Gemini.
To a deeply nurturing, protective, and grounding energy of Cancer, yes.
What are the practical implications of that? For investment, maybe?
Well, it's significant. We're looking at a period where investment and focus shift toward the domestic sphere. Things like real estate, home improvements, food security, supporting family and community.
It's like a collective nesting instinct.
But one that's backed by Jupiter's enormous growth potential.
So it suggests that true security and abundance aren't just found in external achievement, but in building a solid, protected, emotionally rich home base.
It absolutely is. And it's an interesting counterpoint to the technological decentralization we talked about with Pluto.
How so?
The societal shifts are revolutionary, thanks to Pluto. The structural demands are intense from Saturn and Neptune, but the emotional and material foundation becomes really supportive because of Jupiter. It gives us this collective feeling that even amidst rapid change, we have the resources, both financial and emotional, to secure what's most vital to us.
Now let's talk about the energy that's sort of underlying the entire year, the spiritual trajectory. We can't ignore the eclipses and the shifting nodal axis.
Right, the celestial navigator. So the North Node, which is the collective future destination, is in Pisces.
And the South Node, the energy we need to release, is in Virgo.
This is the definition of a spiritual upgrade for the collective. It's an invitation to embrace what is unseen.
And what does that invitation actually entail? The sources frame it as a direct challenge to our modern tendency to over-control everything.
It is. The invitation is to surrender control and trust your intuition more than your spreadsheets.
That creates a lot of friction.
It creates critical friction. Virgo, the South Node, excels at analysis, meticulous planning, health routines, hyper-detailed control. Pisces, the North Node, demands surrender, faith, intuition, and compassion.
So to align with this energy, we have to move away from feeling secure just because of measurable metrics.
And instead find security through emotional and spiritual alignment.
Okay, but how does that spiritual upgrade connect back to the major structural moves we talked about, it seems? Counterintuitive to build a rigid structure, a Saturn structure, based on something as fluid as intuition.
That's a great question. The nodes provide the why for the structure.
Ah, I see.
If you're building a 30-year foundation with Saturn and Neptune, you need to be absolutely sure it aligns with your soul's deepest purpose, which is Pisces, not just what's analytically profitable, which is Virgo.
So the structures that do manifest in 2026 have to have an inherent non-material value.
They have to. They must serve a higher, collective, or spiritual purpose. Otherwise, they simply won't stand the test of time that Saturn demands.
It's the universe reminding us that sometimes the true blueprint is felt, not calculated. That's a powerful idea for a world drowning in data.
It encourages a profound pivot. True security reinforced by Jupiter in Cancer, is found not just in the numbers, but in emotional and spiritual integrity. The sources suggest that letting go of that need for granular, visible control is what opens up the space for protective abundance to really flourish.
Okay, so as we enter the back half of this monumental year, there's one final intensity check.
Mars going retrograde in Leo.
Right, around July and August. In a year defined by building, why is the planet of action hitting the brakes?
Mars retrograde always feels like hitting a wall, a period of frustration. But because it's happening in Leo, the sign of ego, creativity, performance, and passion, it's an internally focused recalibration.
It's not a blockage, then?
No, it's quality control.
So if the first half of the year was about pouring the foundation and setting up the systems...
With Pluto and Saturn, Neptune, yes.
The summer is about confirming the motivation behind those structures.
Exactly. Mars retrograde in Leo forces us to revisit and refine our personal passions and creative projects. We have to check our internal operating system. Are we building this out of genuine heart and passion, or is it just ego?
Is this creative path authentically ours?
Precisely. If the foundation is sound, this retrograde ensures the creative output that follows is equally pure and motivated. It's a necessary deep edit before the big launch.
That makes perfect sense as a final preparatory step, and that preparation carries us right to the end of the year.
And sets the tone for the future. That's right. The year closes with Jupiter shifting signs once more, moving into Leo in December.
Which, following that Mars retrograde refinement,
sets the stage for what the Source's project will be, a fiery 2027. A year focused on passionate execution and creative expression, all built on that solid foundation laid in 2026.
So if we zoom out and look at the whole year, Pluto setting the reality, Saturn-Neptune providing the structure, Jupiter offering nurture, the nodes demanding faith, what's the single overarching conclusion?
Manifestation and solidification. That's it. 2026 is the year where intention meets reality. You had the vision, you went through the chaos, but this year delivers the concrete framework and the sustained energetic support needed for manifestation.
It's the crystallization of ideas.
Moving from the ethereal question of what if we built this, to the physical reality of this is how we build it. It's truly an energetic clarification, an invitation to participate actively in a global and personal reset.
And it's a universal shift.
Absolutely, regardless of where you are in your own life cycle. As one source put it, whether you are an Aries starting a whole new 30-year cycle or a Pisces finishing one up, everyone wins by aligning with this massive collective energy.
That brings us to our final thought for you to consider, something for you to mull over as you prepare for this monumental year.
If the year 2026 is truly defined by Saturn, which is structure, and Neptune, which is dreams, meeting at the absolute 0 degree, the beginning of Aries, what foundational dream, currently existing only in fog or possibility or vague ambition, would you choose to prioritize and solidify first? The universe is demanding a blueprint. What will you